Guys, hey Krishna, hey Michael.
Hi, Yuval. How are you? Good to see you.
Doing well, excited to hear you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're good to go, no? Krishna, are you ready?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Fantastic. So, hi everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today, we have with us our most beloved partner from UST. And just let me open my notes. Okay, there you go. So hi everyone, and great afternoon. So UST Global is one of the most active partners of 365X and Sarona, already in discussion with 3 of the 365X companies. And UST Global is a leader of digital marketing, serving key enterprises around the world, including some of the most successful Fortune 500 list. And we have with us today Krishna Sudheendra, which is the CEO of UST Global. And he has joined us today for a masterclass, gathering you as our community and sharing with you his insights about innovation at Fortune 500 companies. And I think that for you guys, it means how does your startup can actually fit in there? How can you play a role in this transformation? So just a few words about Krishna, so you know who you're about to meet. So Krishna has more than 25 years of actually leading high growth organizations, out of which 15 are at UST Global. And prior to UST, Krishna served both as a president and the CFO, including being the corporate controller for First Apex, as well as holding several leadership positions at General Electric. And at UST, worth mentioning that Krishna was involved in a major raise of about $250 million that was committed to UST from Singapore's Sovereign Wealth Fund. And as well, he was named one of the top 25 highest ranked CEOs that acted during the COVID period. So I think it's pretty impressive, and would be very interesting to hear what kind of actions actually brought you this nomination. So what are we going to do today? So we're going to have about 25-30 minutes where Krishna will share with us some pearls of wisdom from his experience leading digital transformations to some of the most influential companies in the world. And following his masterclass, we will have about 15-20 minutes of open Q&A, where you guys can post up questions in the chat, and we will moderate this interview. As you know it very well, being part of our community and ecosystem, we love to hit the masters. So please welcome our partner, Mr. Krishna Sudheendra.
Thank you very much, Truth, for that kind introduction. I'm just a simple person, so more importantly, it's my honor and privilege to be addressing the 365X CEOs and many startups, because I firmly believe that startups are the future of the digital transformation that we are going to go through as an industry. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, Krishna, we can hear you well.
Thank you. So, as Toot rightly talked about, UST is privileged to work with over 120 Fortune 500 Global 1000 companies, engage with over 400 startups across the globe, and we have about over 30,000 people who are serving us in 26 countries across the globe. So we are a company that believes in nurturing and believes in the ecosystem and nurturing the ecosystem. For us, ecosystem includes partners, includes startups, includes universities, where we bring the innovation, where we scale that innovation to solve some of the problems of the Fortune 500, Global 1000 customers across the globe, because we believe that you cannot do things alone. And internet has taught us that sharing and shared knowledge and shared work product really is going to solve the problems of the industry as we go forward. In the last 6 months, I think humanity has faced some unprecedented challenges. Many of our assumptions have been shattered, our beliefs have been questioned and challenged by a very small virus. I think all of us are wondering, what is happen? What does the future look like? So today I'm going to focus a lot more on what does this pandemic means to us. I mean, if we look 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the line, what happens, especially as CEOs and as senior leaders in many of these startups, where you have a team to follow. I'm sure you have a lot more insights, but I'll share my perspectives from what I see and what I hear from the industry and from some of the experts that I've heard. So let's keep it interactive. So please post your questions. Would be happy to answer at the end as going to be moderating. I think one thing I can confidently tell all of you is humanity has always faced massive disruptions and emerged absolutely resilient through these disruptions. Because I think, I personally believe that when you look at a word change in itself, I mean, you just change one letter. You change the letter G with letter C, change becomes chance, which is a huge opportunity. I mean, if you look at it from that mindset, it opens up tremendous amount of opportunity for us as an industry. And I believe this pandemic has been a silver lining from that standpoint for the tech industry. When this whole pandemic hit, I mean, any pandemic has 3 phases. The first phase is respond. I think everyone quickly responded, working from home, scrambling, their e-commerce channels and how to reach the customer, how to still make the deliveries, how to keep the inventory, how to ensure that you have adequate inventory to service your customers, how to help the patients, how to help in the healthcare industry and so on. I mean, even education, how do you get kids to go to school or work, attend school remotely? I think this whole thing was the respond. I mean, everyone, I think, reacted very well. Again, resilience of humanity. But one thing underlying there is technology became the enabler in the first phase of respond. If you look at the second phase is recover. I believe that phase is going to be 12 to 18 months from where we started. In this recover phase, I think every company is looking at how can we take cost out? How do we keep our employees motivated? How do we ensure that our customers are still satisfied? How do we ensure that there is no lack of service, no lack of inventory to service our customers? How do we restart our business and so on? So that's the recover phase. Again, if you look at it, the underlying theme is technology. Technology is really enabling this. Now, if you look at the third phase, which is the most important phase, which is renew. How do businesses renew and look at a new normal? I was listening to Gartner. Gartner studied and said that the businesses are going to fundamentally change in the next 5 years. Business models are going to change. Everything driven by technology. Technology is going to be a key disruptor and a key enabler for businesses to reinvent themselves, because the businesses of today will be nothing like what's going to be 5 years from now. So that's the renew phase. That's the new normal which is going to get created. And we've already seen how work from home has become a new normal. We've already seen, earlier Agile and DevOps, they said, people need to be together in a room, working together, but that myth is busted. People working remotely across the globe can brilliantly execute a DevOps Agile projects without any problem. So the new renew is going to be the new normal, which is going to emerge. It's going to change the way healthcare industry is going to operate. I mean, healthcare used to be very focused. I mean, they started adopting technology, pushing things on the cloud, but all of a sudden, they need to do remote monitoring. They need to ensure that how can they fulfill pharmacy requests remotely? How can they tend to patients remotely given the pandemic and things like that? Education has changed, retail has changed, banking has changed, everything is, and it's going to change even further. In fact, I mean, Gartner did a study and interviewed about 1,000 boards of the Fortune 500 Global 1,000 companies. And the result was 69% of the boards believed that digital is going to be the way forward, and they are going to double down their investments in digital. And technology is going to change the way businesses are going to look at. In fact, they also did a study where they said that 50% of the companies or 50% of the boards are going to look at cost takeouts. I mean, they're going to reimagine their cost, reimagine their business, reimagine their gross margin, their net margins using technology. So that's the kind of enablement that technology is going to do. The businesses are going to change quite dramatically as we go next 5 years from now. And every one of them believed that digital is the tipping point for every business. Technology is a tipping point for every business. The chief digital officer, the chief technology officer are going to assume pivotal positions. I mean, right next to the CEO, helping the strategy. In fact, you know, the companies that we work with, they said they want to be a technology company. They might be in retail, they might be in healthcare. They all want to be technology companies. And everyone is looking at an extensive industry transformation. It's not just a business transformation, it's an industry transformation. New models are going to emerge, new businesses are going to emerge, new business models are going to emerge. So there is massive opportunity to reinvent business. So what does it mean to all of us? What does it mean to companies like us, companies like you? And how do we work in this, and what is the new realm? Again, based on what we are hearing from our customer, I mean, there is going to be massive focus on business outcomes. How do you bring in technology to solve business problems? How do you bring in technology to open new channels for customers? How do you bring in technology to create new customers, to create new business lines for customers? Regardless of what technology it is, I think the businesses are going to be more focused on how are you enabling my business? So I think from all our perspective, we need to be thinking as to how we are, it's not about the technology, it's about how you apply technology to solve critical business problems, help our customers improve their revenue, help our customers maximize their margins, help our customers keep their employees happy, keep their customers happy. And I think the other important thing that's emerging is how do you create a resilient technology architecture? As we speak, I mean, I'll give you the example of Amazon. Why is Amazon so successful? Amazon does 300 releases a second. I mean, this is something that I've heard directly from Amazon. 300 releases a second. That's how robust their technology architecture is. It's fully democratized. Any team, any agile team sitting anywhere in the world can make these releases. So these are concurrent releases on the system happening concurrently across the globe. So the beauty of it is it's democratized, innovation is democratized, technology is democratized, but there is an underlying resilient architecture which enables many of these things to happen. Then there is the third important element, a result out of this is the democratized innovation, which is the fantastic opportunity for all of us and all of you. Companies are no longer looking at doing it themselves. It's not about few good minds sitting in corporate trying to reinvent the business. It's about how do you create a shared environment where there is shared and democratized innovation. Innovation can come from a startup, innovation can come from university, innovation can come from a partner, anywhere. How do you assemble that innovation? How do you scale it? How do you grow it? So leveraging innovation that's going to happen. And this is a massive, unique opportunity that's available for all of us to see how we work together, how we partner. And again, the focus should be to solve that business problem for the customer. And the focus is on speed to market. How do you create technology, proof of concept, plug and play models to enable speed to market for your customer? And the customers are going to embrace this as we go. The other dimension of this, the fourth dimension of this, is the new economic models that are going to arise. I mean, I was talking to a big fleet operator who is one of our distant customers. So they were saying earlier their business model was, they were providing fleets on a monthly basis, on a retainer, and so on and so forth. And today they are changing their entire business model to as a service. So they are being measured on uptime of fleets. So they are not only selling the trucks and the fleets, now they are managing the uptime, they are taking care of the maintenance, it's remote monitoring, they put a bunch of IoT devices to manage the whole thing. So it's really, businesses are looking at new business models and new dimensions as we go through. And the other important aspect of this whole transformation is it's no longer 18-month, 24-month, large long-term projects. It's about short sprints, a number of short sprints. Of course, you have underlying architecture, but it's a number of short sprints, componentized models, Lego blocks where you can assemble. It could be from one startup, we get a Lego block, which can be input. There's another component from an SI like UST, bring it all together, and how do you really get a product or a platform or a solution up and running for the customer in a matter of time so that it can be speed to market, getting to the customer. I think that's going to be very, very important. And that's the other dimension that's emerging. The next dimension or theme is autonomous structure. Earlier, it was, I think when the whole industrial revolution happened, it was all about how you have a hierarchical structure. I think internet and the whole digital revolution has busted that myth. It's not about monolithic structures. It's about how do you create autonomous structures. It's team-based structures, team-oriented structures, where you quickly put an agile team together and get things moving. Same thing, I mean, it's multiple companies, multiple partners, multiple ecosystem partners working together and quickly putting up a solution which is shared composite thinking, which is shared knowledge, everything coming together to solve the problem. And the last dimension of all of this is, as I said, technology is driving a lot of these changes. So there's going to be massive talent shortage. And when these large corporations have talent shortage, where do they look? They look for companies like us, companies like all of you, to provide them the solution, not the people, but provide them the solution at scale, provide them the solution at speed, being agile and nimble for them to be able to solve their problems. So if I have to summarize 5 key or 6 key themes that are emerging, focus on business outcome, not the technology, it's the business outcome that matters. Having a robust technology or resilient technology architecture, but with a lot of plug and play and componentized. Democratized innovation, leveraging innovation across the ecosystem. New economic or business models that are emerging, and how do you tackle that using technology, or technology itself is creating new economic models. Short sprints rather than big long-term projects where you can bring in a lot more plug and play, more open source, more componentized things to bear. And lastly, autonomous structure, modularity, composable thinking, and shared development of products or solutions is going to be the key. And the last one that I highlighted is how do companies address the talent shortage by companies like you and us who can bring this together for them. So friends, I mean, this is something which I have learned from our customers, from various interactions with experts. The underlying thing out of all of this is technology is going to be the leader. Technology is going to be the leader for the future, which provides all of us a very unique opportunity to work together to address the problems of the Fortune 500, Global 1000, and the small and medium businesses that are going through. How do we help them reach their customers better? How do we help them delight their customers? How do we help them grow their revenues and margins? How do we help them serve their employees in the communities? So we are, as a group, we have this unique opportunity to kind of attack this through innovation, through our ecosystem. And I think working together to solve some of this is going to put us as technology leaders of tomorrow. So I would pause here for more questions, but I feel I'm very confident and I feel very excited with this unique opportunity that's going to drive and put technology in the leader's seat, and this ecosystem in the leadership position to solve some of the problems of modern businesses. Thank you very much for this opportunity and really open up for questions.
Thank you, Krishna. So I will start with a question that could probably interest everyone. Do your clients actually buy more services or less during the COVID? And whichever it is or it was, can you think of why?
Very interesting question, very good question. As I talked about the three phases, in the respond phase, everyone stopped buying services, stopped buying. In fact, I mean, the spend went down dramatically. Everyone was just trying to scramble, get to work from home, get to make sure that there's no disruption in their IT operations, no disruption in their business so that they can continue to operate. So retailers, obviously, who went through massive spikes, there was increase in spend, but rest of the businesses, be it banking, financial services, be it healthcare, there was a little bit of a lull. I mean, the spending came down. Now, as they went through in the recover phase, they started looking at, okay, what are the most important projects? How do they reprioritize? What needs to get done quickly? So then the spend started picking up. But now, as they are getting into the renew phase, we are seeing massive inquiries, massive spend that is beginning to happen on two fronts. One, on how do you use technology to take cost out? Number two is how do you use that money to fund new digital technology initiatives. So everyone is in a mad rush to kind of spend, and that's clearly reflective in the stock market, where you can see the stocks of technology companies are going through the roof because everyone is rushing to spend on technology. So I hope that answers the question. There was an initial lull, but then it's definitely picked up as we go through it.
Okay, thank you. We have Kyle from EdgeCase that is asking, what do you see as the next opportunities in healthcare in general? And maybe I would also add UST as well as a player inside it.
Yes, healthcare is going to be massive. In fact, we were listening to John Sanai, who is one of the professors at Singularity University. In fact, I had the opportunity to listen to him this morning, and he had a very interesting thing to say. I mean, if you look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so health is at the bottom, then family, security, stable income, and then you have career, power, aspirations, and so on. When a pandemic hits, this whole Maslow's hierarchy of needs is kind of inverted. So now if you look at the inverted Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what becomes the highest priority is your health. Will I really make it through this pandemic? Will my family make it through this pandemic? And then the financial well-being, and then the physical well-being, all of those become priority. So when you look at from this perspective, healthcare becomes the biggest concern, becomes the biggest focus area for every company, every human being. Now, obviously, that's where we see massive opportunities that are going to emerge in healthcare. I mean, not only in terms of remote everything. I mean, how can you monitor your patients remotely? How can you provide them medicines remotely? How can you coach them? And The other big thing that's emerging out of this pandemic is a whole mental health issue. In fact, UST is starting a new business line which is focused on mental health issues. In fact, just to put things in perspective, in US, in one single county, the average spend a year is $2 billion on mental health. This is the money that is spent by each county to take care of the mental health issues and mental health patients in a particular county. So you can extrapolate it to the entire United States and then across the globe. So the opportunity is massive. So UST is building a new line which is focused on mental health and how do we bring in technology to solve this mental health issues and how do we enable care in mental health. And so I see tremendous opportunity from monitoring to electronic health records to helping patients remotely to mental health and whatnot. I think there is a whole slew of issues. I mean, I've not even touched the surface in terms of diagnostics and gene and so many things that are happening, which are going to come after this. But technology is going to drive a whole lot of these.
Okay, so we have a question from Arye that is asking, how do you actually design multicultural products today when the world is actually becomes one that will work around the world, or do you actually do localizations and modifications when you enter different markets?
Fantastic question. I think we have off late with global products, we are faced more and more with this. I mean, I think the most important way to tackle this is you've got to design the resilient architecture that I talked about, which is the underlying thing. And then you create a microservices architecture on top of it to address the localization issues. I'll talk about one client, one of the largest automobile manufacturers, where they wanted to go to market directly in multiple countries. They wanted to skip the dealer network and then go to the customers directly. So UST built, again, we worked with a startup and we packed it up. And then we built a system which is single piece of code, underlying single piece of code. And then we had a microservices architecture. We launched in 22 countries, and each launch or each release was in a matter of 4 weeks. So 4 weeks was for a new country, but it was single piece of code, single maintenance, no complexity. I think that's how the new models are going to emerge. And that's where you can accelerate the release and go to market as well. So you don't have to build 22 new products. It's single piece of code, but a microservices architecture which will cater to the localization needs of the customer. A platform is called Transient, which we launched. It's working beautifully. I mean, each country we went live in a matter of 4 weeks, and that's the speed of implementation. And it brings down your cost of maintenance. It brings down your cost of ownership, everything as a customer.
Okay, and our audience here is primarily consisted by startup companies. So I would be interested to know how many of the services, the revenues essentially that UST makes is comprised by actually services that are yours, and how many would be third-party applications that you're partnering with, whether they are startup companies or more solid companies.
It's a good question. I'll be very honest. We haven't gotten to measuring what percentage of our revenues come from through where we are putting a partner solution. But I can tell you this, almost all of our new business where we are solving our problems for our customer, there is a component of ecosystem, and you all can attest to this, that we kind of look through which startups can solve what kind of a problem and bring them in. They may not provide the entire solution, but it's really, they'll become a part of the solution, which we are ultimately taking it to the customer. And that's a unique opportunity. I would say almost 70 to 80% of our new solutions that are going into our customers will have some semblance of some startup being involved or the other. So which is a pretty high number because we believe in that shared knowledge, shared innovation, because we ourselves alone cannot solve all the problems, and no company can solve problems on their own. It's really how can we look at entrepreneurship model, how can we look at our extended innovators who are out there, like the startups, like the universities, bring them in and stitch a solution together for the customer, which makes sense.
That makes me very happy to hear. So, and that actually, that's a build up for my next question, which is, if you would meet a startup that actually desires to work with UST as a channel partner, what would be your wow factor in order to adopt their solution and to actually run to the market together?
Yeah, great question. I think the biggest wow factor is the flexibility, the agility of the solution, the business thinking. How do you take a particular technology, apply it to solve a business problem? I think that's going to be really key for us. I'll give you an example. We were solving the problem where the productivity of testing of, we were working for one of the largest tire manufacturers in India. And the problem statement was, how do I increase the productivity? How do I ensure that these are remotely monitored? Still, I can ensure maximum quality for my clients. So we stitched together a solution. Again, we worked with 3 or 4 startups, a video analytics solution, plus algorithms, plus AI, all put together. In fact, today the system works with about 99% accuracy. In fact, 99.99% accuracy. Every tire that's tested out of this system is more accurate than human beings physically checking it. And the entire process was automated, and all the manual work completely eliminated with much, much higher quality. Again, just a simple example of, but this video analytics solution, the AI which were created, was never intended for the tire industry. It was actually done for completely different industry. So it's really the acumen of the people not being hung up on technology, but how do you apply that technology? And that would be my shout out to all the CEOs on this forum, to see how can you reimagine a business use case by applying this technology. It could be something that's relevant for healthcare, but how do you take that and apply it to retail? How do you take that, apply it to banking, so on and so forth, to solve a problem? Because it's not about the technology, it's about the business problem you're solving. I think that shift in approach is very important. And if a startup is willing to innovate, reimagine, relook at things using that technology to apply, saying, hey, how can I use it to solve this particular problem of yours, is going to be the biggest wow factor for me. Because end of the day, that's what we are going to bring it to our customers to solve their problem. Because it's, again, not about the technology, it's about somebody making that revenue, somebody helping that customer, or somebody helping their employees, somebody helping the community. That's the ultimate objective for us.
Thank you, thank you. This is it makes me very, both by meeting Michael and Yuval when we met them here in Israel, and both hearing you now really warms my heart. We are all about innovation, and for me, seeing corporates that are actually pushing for this to happen around the world is not only promoting our startup companies and essentially helping them to enter the market. It also makes me very happy to say that it's really live. It's not just a concept that is being spoken about. It's actually happening, and thank you for showing us that. My next question. So Israel is a pretty big player in the overall global digital transformation and technology market and ecosystem. And obviously, we are here because Michael and Yuval are actually leading an activity for UST relating to innovation in Israel. How do you see Israel playing a role in the coming years with UST towards the world and towards the future?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great question. I mean, Israel always has been the biggest focus for us. I mean, and We have leaders like Yuval and Michael helping us build that ecosystem in Israel. I mean, even 7 or 8 years back when we started thinking through how do we build an ecosystem, the first thing that came to our mind was Israel. If we have to build an innovation ecosystem, if we have to build an ecosystem of startups, the first place to go, of course, San Francisco, but we said Israel, because I think there is the entrepreneurial talent, extraordinarily trained talent that's there in Israel, and also the mobility of Israel and their connectivity with the global world. If you look at healthcare, I think the understanding of healthcare, the understanding that exists in Israel about healthcare, very similar to that of US. So we see a lot of parallel and a lot of good talent that can think at a global scale, not just local scale, right? I mean, India has probably 10,000 startups that are out there. It still needs to mature in terms of global thinking. So that's what when I was talking to Yuval, I was telling him that how do you bring these teams together so that everyone can start thinking at a global scale? I think those are some of the real benefits of Israel. I mean, I think the whole training that you all go through, that the whole Israeli teams go through, the entrepreneurial spirit that exists in Israel. Everyone wants to do something, wants to be an entrepreneur, and that ownership is huge. That's also something very attractive for companies. And number 3 is their connectedness and the mobility of the people. They've lived in US, and somebody would have a family in US or Europe and so on. So they are well connected and they understand the global ecosystem very well. So those are the big positives of the Israeli ecosystem when we look at how do we plug in those innovations to solve some of the problems for our customers.
Okay, nice, thank you. And maybe my last question, and then the guys, all the people watching, if you have any more questions, then post them now so we can choose them once Krishna will finish answering this one. But my question is maybe a bit more personal, I would say. What was the biggest learning of yours throughout your career? And what was the event that actually brought you to this enlightenment, like to this understanding?
Yeah, I think, for me, when we started the company, the whole mission that our chairman, our founder said to us, I mean, we were a 14 people company, like, any startup CEO that is out there. So we were a small team with big ambition. But he said one thing which really resonated well with us. I mean, the mission of UST is transforming lives of our customers, their customer, people, and the communities in which we operate through technology. And 20 years back, he said, technology is going to be the biggest enabler. And guys, you have an option to transform people and help them through technology. I think that was really the biggest resonating factor for us, saying, how do we take technology and really put it to use to solve community problems, to solve people issues, to solve business issues, and be relevant for your customer, your employees. I mean, you talked about the whole Glassdoor recognition, which is really our employees voting for us, because, I mean, we use, again, technology to enable people. And of course, there is the whole humanity and humility aspect, which really propels our people and the passion. But again, it's how do you create a lasting impact? How do you help someone transform? How do you help someone? So that kind of enlightenment really got me, in this frame where I feel the possibilities are endless, because technology is very dynamic, it's evolving, and here is this tool that can help solve a lot of humanity's problems. So I think you're on mute.
Yeah. So I love it. So you're understanding that technology is actually crucial I love it. Okay, last question. So speaking about future, 1 year from now, let's say the distant, the closer future, what would be the biggest change in terms of how UST treats innovation?
Biggest change, I don't know if there's going to be a big change in terms of innovation. I think we will accelerate what we are doing in terms of engaging more and more. I think Yuval and Michael can probably add further, but we are going to accelerate even more. I mean, today I think we are working with, coaching 3 companies, and we would like to extend that and do more, through our leaders. That was one. More engaging them, engaging the startup ecosystem in every solution that we bring to our customer. I think that's going to be one. In fact, I don't know, Yuval, if I'm allowed to announce. So Yuval is going to make a personal move to make sure that he's bringing the ecosystem together. Ecosystem in San Francisco, ecosystem in India, in Israel, in Singapore. How do we bring it all together? And create this massive force of innovation, drawing from every culture, drawing from every entrepreneur that's out there. So that's going to be a big change from an innovation standpoint. And the other important thing is we are going to play a pivotal role in transforming a country, especially digital transformation of country. You will see some announcements coming very soon. We are setting up a JV with our investor, Temasek, to kind of help digitally transform a country. How do you become more relevant to your citizens and enabling them digitally? So those are some of the massive things that we are going to undertake. And I think this ecosystem of partners and ecosystem of startups is going to become even more relevant in solving those problems. But Yuval, you want to add anything further?
Yeah, actually, I joined just to say what you mentioned about, and to this is an important message to the wonderful audience that we have, that in the very near future, we will publish as UST the joint venture that Krishna just mentioned with a very interesting country, that a government and an ecosystem or a market that would be very appealing to our Israeli partners. And we would like to speak and engage with as many as possible to take them together with us, with UST, into this new market. I believe most of our audience has not been active in that market, but will be very interested in that. So follow us, Michael Marks and I, and Michael, if you could switch the video so people will make sure they know you, recognize you in the LinkedIn. We will be happy to develop discussions across multiple verticals, whether it's a fintech or cybersecurity or edtech, education tech, and healthcare, of course. We really look forward to develop these kind of discussions with you guys. And now that you heard our CEO, I think it is potentially more convincing.
Thank you so much, Yuval. And maybe I will just sum up with, I love the mission statement that you outlined, Krishna, that you would like every solution that comes out of UST to involve new technologies and open innovation. For me, that's an amazing mission statement. And I would love if you give me your permission to conclude with this mission statement, because I really find it extraordinary.
No, thank you very much, and thank you all the participants for patient listening. And it was only our attempt to kind of share what we know. I'm sure you all understand this industry and know what's happening very well. But this is just our humble submission of what we know and what we are seeing in the market.
Thank you all very much, and have a wonderful evening. Thank you, Krishna, for joining us, and thank you, Michael and Tamar and Yael and Yuval for enabling this. And I hope you will see more collaborations coming out of this partnership.
Look forward to that. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Have a great evening.
Thank you.